I hate you, teens. I don't know you beings take my soul.
What's your name?
My name is Jennifer.
Someone just broke in?
Someone broke in and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
Was your mom ever part of the plan?
Of killing him? I wanted to.
When evil, entitled teens set out to take innocent lives, they're oftentimes too cocky to think that they'll ever get caught. These teens are nothing short of monsters. Upon their arrest, they tried to manipulate the detectives and earn their undeserved freedom. But as they dug themselves deeper into their lies, they got a taste of their own bitter medicine. Let's explore 3 of the worst cases of killer teens who tried to fool the police. When Cassandra Bajorge was interrogated following her grandparents' brutal murder, she seemed friendly and cooperative, but this was just part of her ploy to manipulate the detectives, a ploy that would fail miserably and expose her as the entitled brat that she was.
I don't think I've met you before, have I?
No. Do you remember my name? Coolness.
Coolness? Really?
Swear. That's probably why I was class clown 25.
Cassandra had been living with her grandparents, Wendy and Randall, ever since she was 16. For most of her childhood, she had been in and out of the juvie system and got into constant trouble at school. Underage drinking, smoking pot, shoplifting, assault, and multiple runaways were on her record by her 16th birthday. When the rest of her family was at their wits' end, Randall and Wendy offered to help. They thought they could help straighten her out. In just 12 months, authorities in Lawrenceville, Georgia were called over 30 times to their place. Cassandra ran away from their home, abused substances, and one time she even threw a glass bottle at Wendy. When an officer arrived at their house, Wendy tried explaining calmly what had happened, while Cassandra kept interrupting and casting aspirations at her grandma and the officer. Cassandra had many traits linked to oppositional defiant disorder. In other words, she was prone to be hostile toward any parent or authority. Around the time she turned 17, Cassandra started dating a boy named Johnny Ryder, 2 years her senior. In him, she found someone that she could constantly complain to about how unfairly she was being treated, how no one was allowing her to do as she pleased. On April 1st, 2017, Wendy took to Facebook to ask people to help her find Cassandra. She'd run away from home again, and this was Wendy's go-to method of trying to find Cassandra, or at least know she was safe. Shortly after 11 p.m., Wendy texted Amanda, Cassandra's mom, "I'm going to bed soon. Maybe tomorrow will be better. All I can do is hope for the best and expect the worst. It shouldn't be this hard for any of us." This would be Wendy's last message. A few days later, Amanda requested a welfare check on her parents. They'd gone AWOL, and that was not like them at all. 2 days in a row, authorities knocked on their door to no avail. On April 8th, however, someone called to report an assault just a few doors down. The 2 perpetrators were quickly identified as Cassandra and Johnny. They had broken into the home of Johnny's sister and her boyfriend and ransacked it while they were at work. When the couple returned home, Cassandra and Johnny were sitting on their bed, proud of themselves. And when they confronted the brats, they proceeded to attack them violently. Cassandra even used a baseball bat on Johnny's sister. They left Johnny's sister's car, but left another car at the scene, Wendy and Randall's. When authorities were called to this house, they finally put 2 and 2 together. The couple was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and the authorities went to Wendy and Randall's home and kicked the door in. Following an unspeakably foul smell, the officers located Wendy and Randall's lifeless bodies on the floor of their bedroom. They had multiple jags and their heads had been bashed in. It was gruesome beyond words, and heartbreaking too, to think they had volunteered to help Cassandra. Cassandra and Johnny were tracked to a nearby apartment where they had barricaded themselves. When they wouldn't respond to a pair of officers, they brought the SWAT team. They did not respond to a negotiator or to the command to exit the apartment. Finally, the team broke in and found the couple locked inside the bathroom. They had attempted to end their lives with a blade rather than face justice. However, they failed at that. They were taken to the hospital and charged with double homicide and several other charges. And as it always goes for evil teenage couples, Cassie and Johnny quickly turned on each other. So when Cassandra was interrogated after her release from the hospital, the detectives already had a pretty clear idea of what she'd done. They just had to know the how and the why. Cassie was quick to say she'd had a horrible argument with Wendy before leaving the house in the last days of March. Then she chilled with Johnny for a few days, just before sneaking back into their house on April 1st. Cassandra said Johnny asked her something strange.
He first asked me, "Are you afraid to die?" And I said no. And then I asked him, "Are you afraid to die?" And he said no. And he was just talking about how we could like run away together, that kind of like dream. And he asked me, he was like, "Would you kill your grandparents?" And I kind of like hesitated for a minute. And I was like, "Why?"
She hesitated for a minute. Most of us would defend our grandparents and wonder what on earth is happening in Johnny's mind. But Cassie only hesitated for a minute.
All I really wanted to do was just kind of get away from everything, kind of just move on with myself. Like, I wasn't having a good relationship with my grandparents. Like, it started getting really bad, like I got a charge from them because, like I fought them, I might have broken like my grandpa's ribs when, for that charge for simple assault.
Cassandra is speaking like she's the victim. She got a charge from them. She also described herself as more of a passive bystander, while Johnny started and carried out most of the plan. He decided to stalk Wendy and Randall's house until all the lights were out, then move into their bedroom with hammers, bats, duct tape, and knives. Side note, Johnny told the exact same story, except Cassie was the mastermind, and he was the passive bystander. Still, Cassie did say she was equipped with weapons, yet she couldn't name any of them.
I had, what's it called? It's one of those car tools.
Is it to do a tire, or
Yeah,
is it
tire
to fix
iron. It was a tire iron.
Her lack of a vocabulary emphasizes her young age. What she says, however, emphasizes her entitled, defiant personality.
Yeah, she's bitten me before.
Well, she's been you before too.
Yeah, I haven't bitten her, but she's bitten me before.
Does Cassie really think the officers will believe Wendy bit her for no reason? That her kind grandmother, who took her in and had no criminal record, started the violent altercations between the two?
And then Johnny. And it was kind of creepy because she was like scared to die. Like she herself and peed herself.
How did she?
It was kind of gross.
It was not a problem that she had unalived her grandparents. It was a problem that it was gross. This was not the end of Cassie's shocking accounts. After unaliving Wendy and Randall, Cassandra and Johnny went out to get food and then came back into the house and chilled.
And then we went back to the house and we just kind of like chilled there.
With the $1,000 they took from Wendy's safe, the two dined out and went shopping for the following days, returning to the house to sleep just a few feet away from the grandparents' bodies. There's something else Cassandra did not say. The evening after murdering Wendy and Randall, she threw a fueled party inside the house. This is the level of empathy she had for her family. Cassandra did not admit to this, even when the detectives confronted her with this information. Several neighbors testified to this, however, and there was evidence inside the house too. Cassie did confess to something else though. Her grandparents were just their first victims on a plan that included her and Johnny's entire families.
The plan was we were gonna get both of our families. That's why.
What?
That was Johnny's idea, because then that's the reason why he asked me if I wanted to kill my grandparents, because he wanted to already kill his family. And he was like, let's be Bonnie and Clyde.
But even Bonnie and Clyde were not this evil. They did not set out to unalive their families. Cassandra's motive?
I was so tired of dealing with my family. It felt like I didn't even have a family. Like, it felt like they weren't there.
She was tired of dealing with them. Then she added a few clarifications to make herself look like the victim. They weren't there. Except her whole family was there, trying hard to cope with a defiant teen who always went against their pleas. Also, if you're tired of someone, you can always get away from them without taking their lives.
Was your mom ever part of the plan?
Of killing them? I wanted to.
It's a mystery why Cassandra had so much hate for her family. It's easy to imagine horrendous childhood trauma lying at the bottom of such a vile personality. And yet, there are no records or witness accounts of such things. Cassandra sounds more like a character out of a horror movie, born evil and set out to destroy, than a real-life teen. Cassandra and Johnny's case caused huge waves in their community and the state of Georgia. No one had heard of a couple of teens setting out to slay their entire families and then throw parties next to Wendy and Randall's bodies. It was the stuff of nightmares, and people wanted to see the teens get the worst punishment they could get. Johnny was 19 at the time of his arrest. To avoid the death penalty, Johnny pled guilty in a deal with prosecutors. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 60 years. Cassandra was still 17 when she was arrested, but her interrogation was enough to have the district attorney prosecute her as an adult. From Johnny's testimony, as well as other accounts, it became clear Cassandra was actually the mastermind behind the entire plan.
Now, Bjorg said very little inside court as the charges were read.
2 felony warrants for murder, 2 felony warrants for aggravated assault. You have no bond on the murder charges. Only a superior court judge can consider you for bond.
Cassie's mom, Amanda, struggled to talk about losing both of her parents and her daughter in one night.
Not in a million years did I ever think something like this would ever happen.
The judge also pointed this out to Cassandra. "I'm not sure I've ever imagined such a well-planned, despicable, heinous act to be committed by 2 such young people. The heartless and depraved nature of what the 2 of you did tells me it's not worth my time." Cassandra was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 60 years, just like her boyfriend of 3 months. Yes, this is how long they were together. A match made in hell and fuel for Cassandra's darkest wishes. It's a reassuring thought neither of them will walk free again, at least before they're 80 years old. Anyone who saw Jennifer Pan thought she had it all. Straight A's, a wealthy supporting family, and a bright academic career ahead. But in 2010, Jennifer proved everyone wrong. She was in a truly dark place, and no one expected her to reach a boiling point the way that she did. Her parents, Bish Ha and Huy Han Pan, had come to Canada from the Chinese diaspora in Vietnam. They had worked hard to escape their impoverished and persecuted life back home, and they always told their children they should do the same. They wanted Jennifer and her younger brother Felix to get an education and aim for the stars. Felix became a mechanical engineering undergrad at a top university in Canada. He was going to design cars. Jennifer, on the other hand, had different aspirations. Growing up, she was just as academically gifted and hardworking as her brother. She learned piano and became an Olympic caliber figure skater during high school. Then she decided on her career too.
His daughter, he wanted to be a doctor, eventually changing that to a pharmacist because he said that she didn't have the stomach for it.
However, growing up, Jennifer found it increasingly hard to stay on top of her schoolwork, and she was too afraid of her strict, demanding parents to let them know.
She's been given all the opportunities to succeed, but academically she's challenged. She can't actually meet those expectations, and as a result of that and the fear of failing in a parent's eyes, she then begins to spin a web of deceit and lies.
During the day, Jennifer hung out with friends, dated, and played games, but in the evening, she'd return home with stories of academic success. When she stopped going to school, she began forging report cards.
She started to forge her report cards and give herself, so she looks like she had straight A's. And then once she was on that journey, that train, there was no getting off.
She claimed to have a place at university. The university declined to take her because she didn't match their entrance requirements.
By the time she was 20, Jennifer had her family convinced that she was a pharmacology student at the University of Toronto. She even bought pharmacy books and left pharmacy videos open on her computer, knowing her parents would notice them while passing by. It did not stop there. A few years later, she claimed she graduated from that university and then lied to her family about getting the prestigious internship at the Children's Hospital. Felix, who was 3 years her junior, wouldn't stop hearing about Jennifer. Their parents used her as a role model for her little brother to the point of annoying him. If only they knew she was quite the opposite. In 2010, 24-year-old Jennifer was working as a waitress and teaching piano to other children. Of course, there is no shame in that, but she believed it was too embarrassing to her parents, so they had no idea about her life at that point.
So the only way that she understands, evaluates herself and her life, her whole existence, is against the measure of achievement that her parents present for her.
Without her realizing it, Jennifer had become extremely stressed by her double life. She'd been doing it for a decade, and she knew no other reality. When the truth finally came out, it was the end of the world for Jennifer. Over the years, Jennifer's parents became suspicious that they'd never seen their daughter's hospital ID badge or uniform. When they asked her about this, she would change the subject. act. So one day, Bish followed her to work, only to see Jennifer chilling in a cafe for several hours. That's when she called the University of Toronto and learned her daughter had never been accepted to it. The same day, she phoned her high school, only to find out she never graduated. As you can imagine, this led to a huge fight that night.
Basically, all hell broke loose at family home. Her father apparently wanted to throw her out and was disgraced and everything else.
Jennifer's academic situation, or lack thereof it, was not the only thing that was exposed that night. During their fight, Jennifer's parents pressed her about her romantic life, and Jennifer told them about her boyfriend, Daniel Wong. It was clear Jennifer loved Daniel from the way she spoke about him, but when her parents learned he was a pot dealer, they decided she could no longer date him. Now, considering that they were forbidding a 24-year-old to date someone, it's easy to see why Jennifer chose to keep him a secret in the first place. It's usually highly critical and demanding parents that lead a child to lie. Children don't start lying for no reason. However, this case took a turn for the worse in a big way. Jennifer's parents offered her a way out of being disowned. Dump Daniel, focus on her studies, graduate from high school, and then enroll in pharmacology college. Meanwhile, she was grounded like a child. Jennifer wanted to sneak out, at least to meet with Daniel, but her parents were watching her every step, and it was nearly impossible to leave the house without them knowing. After months of not seeing his girlfriend, Daniel fell in love with someone else. He broke the news to Jennifer, and they ended their relationship that night.
And this really sent Jennifer into a bit of a depression over the kind of pressure she was getting from her parents and the kind of constraints she had on her life.
Jennifer's frustration soon turned to hatred, and she had not forgotten her scheming ways. First, she wrote a letter to Daniel to let him know that his new girlfriend had sent a group of men to her home to essay her. Of course, that was a lie. And on November 8th, 2010, Hui Han woke up with a firearm to his head. He was taken downstairs where two more hitmen were waiting. One of them was already keeping Bish hostage in the living room. Jennifer came out of her room when she heard the noises coming from downstairs. But as soon as she stepped into the hallway, the third hitman pulled his weapon at her and tied her to a banister. Meanwhile, her poor parents were begging the hitman to spare their daughter's life. Jennifer told the man who tied her to get the $2,500 she had earned from her piano lessons from her room. Another hitman found $1,100 hiding in Bish's nightstand. Then the couple was ordered to stand up, and one man threw a blanket over their heads. 5 gunshots were heard, and both parents fell to the floor. Bish's last words were, "Please let my daughter live." Moments later, Jennifer made a fateful 911 call.
What's your name? My name is Jennifer. Someone just broke in? Someone broke in and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
Does it sound like gunshots?
I don't know what a gunshot sounds like. I just heard a pop.
While the dispatcher was sending authorities Jennifer's way, she heard something terrible. Within inches of death, Han had crawled into the driveway, screaming after seeing his wife die. He was shot in the head and fell into a coma shortly after he was rescued by paramedics. Amazingly, he would survive. Jennifer was treated as a victim too, but the dispatcher noted something to the authorities she sent her way. If Jennifer was tied to the banister, how on earth did she make the 911 call? And why would 3 hitmen leave a witness after what they'd done? And if they came to rob the house, why did they get away with $3,000 but not take the 2 luxury cars in the driveway? Her explanation was far from satisfying. Over the following days, detectives also observed her nonchalant attitude toward the family tragedy. And when her father woke up from the coma a week later, he told his theory to the officers. Jennifer's lies were exposed, she was grounded, and she lost her boyfriend. In a moment of rage, she decided to hire 3 people to unalive her parents. Then she tried to manipulate the authorities and convince them she too was the victim of a botched robbery. Except she didn't really think things through. When detectives seized her phone, they quickly found conversations with 2 of the hitmen. She had told them that by killing her parents, she would inherit $1 million, and she would pay each of them $10,000 for the deed. Shockingly enough, it was Daniel who put her in contact with these men. When he was arrested, he confirmed Jennifer's vile plan. Jennifer was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. She was also given a court order to never contact her father or brother again.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood, down our main street.
Is she good?
No, she's not. She's dead. That's why this is very important. It's all on you right now.
What is my problem?
You were
He
the
was
last
the
one
last
with her.
one seen with her.
This is 14-year-old Aiden Fucci with his parents. Notice how nonchalantly he is addressing the issue of a teenage girl brutally unalived in his neighborhood. And this wasn't just any girl. It was his 13-year-old classmate, Tristan Bailey. Aiden and his family lived in St. John's, Florida. Tristan had also lived her entire life there, and she was known to her friends and family as an exceptionally determined person with a bright future ahead. Whether it was sports, cheerleading, or arts, she excelled at all of them. Her classmate Aiden was described quite differently by his teachers and classmates. Although polite on the surface, Aiden had a strong disdain for authorities and a general know-it-all attitude towards his peers. This made him quite unpopular at school, and whenever he felt insulted, which was very often, he would get into physical altercations with his classmates. This earned him numerous suspensions, even more severe.
Well, at first, I didn't know if it was him or his friend that was in ISS, and that's why they were in ISS, because one was saying the other one said it.
But the allegation was that Aiden threatened to throw another student out a window.
That's correct.
A female student.
That's correct.
Okay.
At home, Aiden was even worse. Whenever he was away from his parents, he would research serial killers and online gore. He would discuss these with his friends, who most of the time listened in disbelief. They didn't take Aiden seriously, a mistake many teenagers make when they're friends with a future killer. Still, they found it odd that a boy his age wondered more and more often about how it would feel to take a life.
And he said his knife, he wanted to slit somebody's throat, and he said it'd be satisfying. He's talked about killing people. He's talked about fighting people. I've seen him practice motions with his knife.
Aiden even went into specifics with his friends. He said the perfect slaying would be to take his victim into a wooded area at night, jag them, and leave.
When he talked about killing somebody, he even told Zoffie Bowman how he would do it. And what he told her was, I would walk around at night and I would find somebody else walking at night. I would drag them in the woods and I would stab them, and then I would pretend like I didn't do it so that I could keep killing people.
It's pretty infuriating to see all these teens so confident that the authorities would never catch them. Did Aiden never really think his friends would tell detectives what he'd told them? Did he think he could openly talk about taking lives with several people and then go ahead and do it with no actual repercussions? Aiden was also dating someone at the time of his arrest, and she confessed to his unnatural obsession. Reportedly, he had told her he had voices in his head telling him to slay. He also carried 2 knives with him at all times. He'd given them the names Picker and Poker. Disturbingly enough, Aiden's girlfriend confessed to Aiden regularly stabbing her or sneaking up behind her to put a knife to her throat. It was just games, she thought. Through nothing short of a miracle, Aiden never hurt his girlfriend. And no, when it comes to people like him, exhibiting such a strong antisocial personality trait, partners are not off the list. In fact, it's oftentimes partners that fall victim before strangers.
That's going to be Sophie coming on the skateboard towards the house.
On May 8th, 2021, Aiden and Zophie went out skateboarding with their friend Trey around the neighborhood. Meanwhile, Tristan was dining out with her family. Later on, however, Tristan got home and her older sister noticed something odd. She was on a video call with a boy wearing a baseball cap. When she asked Tristan about it, she said one of her classmates invited her to hang out with his friend Trey. Seemed legit enough. Her sister didn't think that much of it. She kissed Tristan goodbye and expected her home within a few hours, but Tristan never came back. At around 1:30 a.m., CCTV footage in the neighborhood caught Aiden and Tristan walking towards a dead end between their 2 homes. This was the last footage of Tristan alive. The following morning, the Bailey family was frantic. It was unlike Tristan to spend the night without a text to her loved ones. And it was unlike her to spend the night at all, especially at strangers' homes like Trey's. The next day, Tristan's body was found in the woods in such a terrifying state, her family was urged not to cross the yellow line. She had been jagged 114 times. She barely had any defensive marks on her. She had no time to react. Aiden was confident he had carried out the perfect plan. He'd lured Tristan to Trey's home, convinced her to walk home with him, and then took her by surprise. However, Aiden never realized he was being filmed by surveillance cameras all around the neighborhood.
You can see that he's carrying something in his hands.
2 hours after a CCTV camera caught him and Tristan walking together, Aiden was seen running barefoot, holding his shoes in his hand. For the rest of the night, Aiden cleaned himself up and hid all of the evidence in his room. The next morning, he was greeted by a pair of officers. He was the last person to see Tristan alive. He had come to the station for questioning. His parents were just as concerned as authorities. Even if Aiden kept his dark obsession a secret from his family, it's safe to assume that they did notice some red flags over the years. Now, their worst fears about their son were becoming reality.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood. Down our main street.
Is she good?
No,
No,
she's not.
she's dead. That's why this is very important. It's all on you right now.
What is my problem?
You were the
You were
last
the
one
last
with
one
her.
seen with her.
Aiden had the same cocky, defiant attitude towards the detectives too. He claimed that he saw Tristan hanging out with a dealer in his 20s, but he couldn't name the person and none of his friends backed up this claim. While he was at the station, someone sent authorities an email with an attachment. It was a Snapchat screenshot showing Aiden in the patrol car with the caption, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?" Aiden was toying with his friends and they were quick to let him know they weren't buying it. "You were with her, Aiden. You know what happened to her. Bruh, aren't you the one that got her into this mess? What the f, Aiden?" But Aiden made more posts that day. He was happy to be under the spotlight after his arrest.
We're having fun in a f***ing cop car. Yep. Tristan. What's up, guys? Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn... When you see this in a month...
Aiden spoke to Tristan as if she was alive and got him wrongfully arrested by running away from home. It's simply disgusting. It's also disturbing to see Aiden's parents slowly come to terms with what their son has done, and all the while, Aiden refuses to acknowledge it.
Are you not scared? Not really?
I'm a little scared.
If you didn't do nothing, I wouldn't be worried about it. You didn't do nothing right.
It was easier for his parents to believe their son was innocent, but even they knew their son was lying. Finally, Aiden confessed to something, but it wasn't what they expected. He said he kissed Tristan. That would explain his DNA on her. But the more he said, the more suspicious he looked, even to his own family.
What were you doing outside late at night?
I'm at Trey's house hanging with him.
Did you kiss or do anything with this girl?
Be honest as you can to
Two.
yes.
Yeah, I kissed her.
Anything further?
When Aiden's parents confronted him with more questions, he started making truly sociopathic claims, such as Tristan pushed him while they were in the woods.
Did she really grab you and you just really pushed her, or was that?
No, she did.
Okay.
You don't know what happened to her after you pushed her?
I think I pushed her, but I told her to back home.
It's incredible how he maintains zero emotion as he claims Tristan started a fight with him. Does he truly believe his parents and the detectives watching will believe him? Fortunately, they didn't have to go off his word. At the same time, law enforcement raided the Fucci home and found a ton of evidence filled with Aiden and Tristan's DNA. His clothes and shoes were all hidden in his room, still covered in red. Authorities also retrieved a notebook full of creepy drawings and musings on unaliving people for the fun of it. Aiden was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. When the full autopsy for Tristan came out, his charge was upped to first degree. Aiden's mother, Crystal, was also arrested that day.
Smith is seen cleaning her son's bloody jeans. When officers went into the home, they found a pair of wet jeans in Fucci's bedroom. And as we reported earlier this summer, the jeans and a drain in a bathroom tested positive for blood.
So Crystal was acting like she knew nothing when she was questioning her son in the interrogation room, but she had just tried to dispose of evidence. One might venture to guess where Aiden got at least some of his traits. In September 2021, Aiden attended his pre-trial hearing via Zoom. His behavior was concerning to all professionals watching.
Why am I here? I just want to talk to my mom and dad. What's going on?
He rocked back and forth, trying to soothe himself, all the while mumbling about demons taking his soul.
I don't let you demons. I don't let you demons take my soul. You demons want to take my soul away.
don't know, just kill myself.
The insanity plea is a famous solution for psychopaths and sociopaths to escape life in prison or the death penalty. If you're insane, then you don't know right from wrong when you took a life, so you don't deserve to be locked up, right? Wrong. Specialists and detectives are ever more suspicious when a killer behaves like this, especially when there were no prior signs of this. Apart from Aiden telling his ex-girlfriend that he heard voices urging him to kill, there's nothing in Aiden's past that could warrant an insanity plea, or that pointed towards schizophrenia or psychotic episodes. Aiden went to trial, and the judge declared he was fit to stand trial, and there was nothing to back his demon episode on Zoom. And just like that, Aiden stopped having episodes. Aiden stood there poker-faced as the prosecution described unspeakable acts of cruelty. At one moment, he laughed about something his attorney wrote on a piece of paper. That showed his lack of remorse or any feeling toward Tristan's slaying. The only time Aiden showed emotion was when his grandmother gave a moving testimony about losing the grandson she once raised.
So sorry. Sorry. I just need my mama to breathe. Wow, this is so hard.
However, there were other tears in the courtroom. Tristan's family could hardly contain their grief and anger throughout the entire procedure, and yet this did not faze Aiden at all.
I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years.
It's hard to ascertain what Aiden even felt at his sentencing. No emotions were seen on his face. His words to his parents, judge, or the Baileys, a quick apology, felt empty, devoid of any meaning or feeling. Perhaps Aiden Fucci is one of those cases where nothing could have been done to stop him. His sociopathic urges were so strong that no one could have seen or prevented his desire to take a life. This is what makes stories like this truly terrifying. How do you know when you have a monster under your roof? Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you know similar cases? Drop a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.